You take care of your car, start every morning, gets you where you need to go, and doesn't make any weird noises. So everything's fine, right? Then inspection day comes and it fails, just like that. No warning, no check engine light, just a red stamp and a mechanic listing problems you didn't even know existed. Most cars hit that point around the 5-year mark, not because they're falling apart, but because of small habits that slowly wear them down. Welcome to Built-in Boost, where we break down the hype, cut through the marketing, and give you the real story behind the badge. This video breaks down why most cars fail checks after 5 years, and the habits you need to stop now to avoid it. Let's talk about it. Habit number 1, driving with the check engine light on. It's easy to ignore. It doesn't beep. It doesn't flash like a warning triangle. It just sits there quietly glowing. Most people see the check engine light as a suggestion, a get to it later kind of thing, and that's exactly how problems slip past the point of no return. The truth is, your car's onboard diagnostic system is smart, but it's not dramatic. That light might mean something minor, like a loose gas cap, or it might be pointing to an emissions failure, a misfire, or even a failing catalytic converter. And once that light's on, you can't pass an inspection in most states. Doesn't matter how well the car runs, if the system detects a fault, it's an automatic fail. Plenty of drivers just live with it. They assume if the car feels normal, there's no real issue. But the longer you drive with that light on, the harder it gets to know what triggered it in the first place. One problem masks another, and when you finally plug in a scanner, you're looking at a mess of codes and guesswork. Mechanics see it all the time. A simple $20 fix turns into a $1,000 repair because someone waited too long. Sensors get damaged, fuel systems get clogged, and catalytic converters, one of the most expensive parts of your exhaust, can overheat and fail. So next time that light comes on, don't wait. Even if the car feels fine, get it scanned. Most auto parts stores will check it for free in minutes. Catch it early and you'll save yourself from failing an inspection and a whole lot more. Habit number 2, letting fluids go too long without changing oil changes get all the attention. But what about the rest? Brake fluid, transmission fluid, coolant, power steering fluid, they all quietly do their job behind the scenes. And most drivers don't give them a second thought until one of them turns into the reason their car fails in inspection, or worse, gets red tag for safety. Over time, fluids break down. They absorb moisture, lose their protective qualities, and start doing the opposite of what they're supposed to. Brake fluid, for example, becomes spongy and can't create the pressure needed to stop you safely. Inspectors test that. If your pedal sinks too low, that's a fail, even if your brakes still kind of work. Coolant that hasn't been flushed in years can become corrosive, attacking metal from the inside. Radiator hoses swell, thermostats stick, sensors start malfunctioning. The entire cooling system becomes a weak link, and by the time the temperature gauge climbs, damage is already happening. Transmission fluid is even worse. It's expensive to fix, but cheap to maintain. Ignore it long enough, and you're looking at harsh shifting, clutch slippage, or total failure. None of that will pass inspection, and if the damage starts showing during a test drive, you'll be paying more than just for the sticker. The fix? Stop treating fluid changes like optional extras. They're the lifeblood of your car. Every time you skip a scheduled service, you're betting against the long-term health of your vehicle. And once you hit that 5-year mark, skipped fluids start showing up as real mechanical problems, not just maintenance notes like a little prevention here keeps your car off the fail list and out of the shop. Habit number 3, ignoring small suspension noises. You hit a bump and hear a dull clunk, maybe a squeak when you turn into the driveway. It doesn't sound serious, so you keep driving. That's how it starts. Suspension wear is sneaky. The parts don't usually fail all at once. They wear down slowly. A bushing cracks, a ball joint loosens, a control arm gets tired. You still get from A to B, but the ride feels a little rougher. a little more floaty. And because it happens gradually, you adjust without noticing. But during an inspection, that's the stuff they're trained to spot. If a tech finds excessive play in your ball joints, leaking struts, or a cracked bushing, it's game over. You might still think the car drives fine, but those components are safety critical. Worn suspension affects steering response, braking distance, and even how your tires make contact with the road. And it's not just about passing or failing. Suspension problems accelerate wear in everything around them. Your tires start to cup, your alignment drifts, brake pads wear unevenly. So even if you squeak through this inspection, you're setting yourself up to fail the next one even harder. A common story in mechanics here goes like this. It started as a small noise, now I'm replacing half my front end. And sure enough, it's a 5-year-old car whose driver just didn't want to deal with it. So next time you hear something off, even if it's subtle, don't just turn up the radio. Get it looked at. Suspension repairs aren't always cheap, but catching them early is almost always easier than waiting until it shows up on a failed inspection report. Habit number 4, skipping brake inspections. Brakes don't go bad overnight. They wear out one stop at a time. And the problem is, by the time you feel something's wrong, you're already past the point of an easy fix. Most people don't think about their brakes until they squeal, grind, or get soft. But here's the thing, most inspection failures related to brakes aren't because the pads are completely gone. It's uneven wear, rusted rotors, or seized calipers that get flagged. Stuff that builds up slowly because no one's checked them in 30,000 miles. Modern cars are good at hiding these issues. Brake assist and electronic stability systems can make a car feel like it's stopping just fine, even when it's not. But during an inspection, your braking force gets tested. If one wheel isn't pulling its weight, or if there's visible rotor damage or uneven pad wear, it's a fail. And in winter, heavy regions, rust is the silent killer. Brake components start corroding underneath, especially if the car sits a lot. The system might pass today, but is one sticky caliper away from dragging, overheating, and cooking the whole assembly. If you wait for the signs like longer stops or pedal vibration, you've already lost valuable time. What could have been a simple pad swap turns into a full brake job. That's new rotors, new calipers, maybe even a flush, just to bring it back up to safe. The solution? Have your brakes visually inspected at least once a year, even if they feel fine. It takes minutes, costs almost nothing if you're already at the shop, and it could be the one thing that keeps your car from failing a safety check when you least expect it. Habit number 5, letting wipers, lights, and mirrors slide. It sounds ridiculous, but plenty of cars fail inspections over the simplest stuff. Bad wipers, a burned out bulb, or a cracked mirror. Why? Because those are all safety features. And if any one of them isn't doing its job, it's a liability not just for you, but for everyone else on the road. Inspectors know that, so do state laws, which means you could have a perfectly running engine and still fail over a $5 light bulb. Wiper blades are a big one. Most people only notice them when it rains, and by then, it's too late. If they smear, squeak, or leave big streaks, that's enough to fail a visibility check. And if the washer fluid doesn't spray, same story. Doesn't matter if it's summer or dry out, it has to work. Burned out bulbs are just as easy to miss. You don't see your own brake lights or turn signals while driving, but inspectors do. If one's out or blinking too fast from a faulty relay, it's marked down immediately. That goes for plate lights too, which a lot of people forget even exists until the sticker gets denied. Mirrors also catch people off guard. A cracked side mirror, a loose rear view, or anything that limits your field of vision is considered unsafe. And if your car has a backup camera by law and it doesn't work, that's another inspection killer, especially on newer models. These little annoyances, they're some of the fastest ways to fail an otherwise clean inspection. And all of them are cheap to fix if you're paying attention. So don't wait for someone else to point them out. Check your lights once a month, change the blades once a year, make it a habit before inspection day does it for you. Habit number 6, letting rust take over without realizing. Rust doesn't start with a giant hole in the frame. It starts with a bubble in the paint, a little flake under the wheel well, maybe a stain near the door trim that wasn't there last year. And most people brush it off until it spreads. 5-year-old cars are right in that danger zone. The undercoating's wearing thin. Salt, moisture, and heat have had plenty of time to eat away at the vulnerable spots. And once rust gets into the structure, frame rails, rocker panels, brake lines, it's not just cosmetic anymore, it's a safety issue. A lot of inspection failures come down to one word: corrosion. Not just what you can see, but what's underneath. Inspectors will tap on frame points, poke at suspension mounts, and if they see through metal rust, that's an instant fail, especially if it's anywhere near a shock tower, brake system, or steering component. Brake lines are a big one. They rust from the outside in, and they don't give you a warning when they're about to burst. Same with fuel lines, same with subframe mounts. If they've been neglected for years, the car might still drive fine, until one day it doesn't. There's no magic cure once rust takes over. You can't pass inspection if a control arm is hanging from a flaking bracket. And patching it with undercoat spray doesn't fool anyone who knows what to look for. The only real defense is early attention. Wash your car regularly, especially underneath. Treat rust spots the moment you see them. Don't assume it's just surface rust unless someone who knows has looked at it. Because once rust sets in, you're not just risking a failed test, you're risking the entire car being deemed unsafe to drive. Habit number 7, forgetting to replace the cabin and engine air filters. Air filters don't seem like a big deal. They're out of sight, cheap, and most drivers don't even think about them until a mechanic brings them up. But neglecting them, especially after 5 years, can quietly tank your emissions, reduce engine efficiency, and even fail you at inspection. Let's start with the engine air filter. Its job is simple: keep dirt, dust, and debris out of your engine. But over time, it clogs up. A clogged filter means less airflow, and less airflow means poor combustion. Your car might still run, but the fuel mixture gets thrown off. That triggers rich fuel codes, misfire codes, or high emissions, any of which will get flagged during inspection. Then there's the cabin air filter. Doesn't affect performance, right? Technically no, but if it's packed with dirt, mold, or moisture, it affects airflow through your vents and can lead to foggy windows, musty smells, and poor defrosting. That's a visibility issue. If the inspector can't get a clear windshield on a foggy day, that alone can cost you. It also tells the inspector something else. This car hasn't been maintained. A cabin filter full of leaves and grime suggests you haven't done regular upkeep, and that opens the door to more scrutiny. They'll look closer, dig deeper, and be less forgiving of borderline issues. Here's what. These filters are some of the cheapest things to replace, usually under $25, and many can be swapped in under 5 minutes without tools. But when ignored, they become part of a bigger pattern that can make or break your inspection. Check them at least once a year, especially after 5 years on the road. It's an easy win and one less thing working against you come test day. Habit number 8, driving with old or mismatched tires. Tires don't have to be bald to fail inspection, they just have to be uneven, mismatched, or a few years too old, and that's where a lot of drivers get caught off guard. You might glance at your tread and think, plenty of life left, but inspectors look at more than depth. They check for cracking, age, dry rot, shoulder wear, and even whether your tires match across the axle. If one tire is newer than the others, or a different brand with a different tread pattern, it throws off balance and traction. That's an easy way to get flagged. Age matters more than people think. Even if your tread looks solid, rubber hardens over time. After 5 or 6 years, tires lose grip, even if they haven't been driven much. And when inspectors see old DOT date codes or cracks forming near the sidewall, they know it's a risk. Doesn't matter if you've still got 4/32 left, if it's dry and brittle, it's a fail. Another red flag is uneven wear. If one tire is smooth on the inside edge while the others are fine, that points to alignment or suspension issues. And once they see that, they're digging deeper into your steering and undercarriage. The mistake many people make is replacing one tire at a time. It feels cheaper in the moment, but it throws off your balance and causes the new one to wear faster. For front wheel or all-wheel drive cars, that uneven wear gets expensive quickly. Your tires are the only thing keeping your car connected to the road, and they're one of the first things an inspector sees. If they're worn, crack, or mismatched, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the car is, your chances of passing drop fast. Habit number 9, overlooking dashboard. Warning lights, everyone knows the check engine light is serious, but what about the others? The ABS light, the airbag light, the TPMS light, those small icons that pop up for a second during startup and sometimes stick around longer than they should. A lot of drivers shrug them off, especially if the car still runs fine. But here's the catch. During an inspection, those lights aren't suggestions. They're disqualifiers. Start with ABS. If that light's on, it means your anti-lock braking system isn't working. Your regular brakes might still be fine, but without ABS, the car can't prevent skids in emergencies. That's an instant fail in most states. The airbag light is even more serious. It means one or more airbags may not deploy or could deploy incorrectly in a crash. Doesn't matter if you've never been in an accident. If that light's on, inspectors will assume the system is unsafe. You're not passing until it's clear and verified. Even the TPMS light, tire pressure monitoring, can raise eyebrows. It won't always cause a failure on its own, but it sends a message. Something's off and you haven't fixed it. Pair that with uneven tires or suspension wear and it becomes part of a larger problem. The problem is, these lights don't always feel urgent. The car drives, there's no noise, so it's easy to push it off, but inspection day doesn't care how the car feels. It cares what the system says, and if the system sees a fault, that's all it takes to send you home with a failed report. Moral of the story, if a light stays on, don't ignore it, figure out why. Because once your dashboard starts glowing, it's not just warning you, it's warning the inspector too. Habit number 10, postponing exhaust or muffler repair. You hear a little rattle under the car, maybe a louder than usual growl when you hit the gas. You chalk it up to age, maybe even enjoy the sound. After all, it still drives, right? That's the kind of thinking that turns a minor exhaust issue into a failed inspection, especially after 5 years on the road. The exhaust system does more than just control noise. It handles emissions, regulates back pressure, and keeps dangerous gases away from the cabin. When something's off, even a small crack or a loose clamp, it throws everything out of balance. You might not notice it day to day, but an inspector absolutely will. Small leaks in the exhaust manifold or pipes can trigger oxygen sensor faults or mess with emissions readings. A corroded muffler might rattle now but fall apart later, risking carbon monoxide leaks or rear end damage. And any visible damage, like a broken hanger, missing heat shield, or rusted through resonator, is enough to fail on the spot. Some states even do underbody inspections with mirrors or lifts. So even issues you can't see easily will get caught. And once a part of your exhaust is compromised, the rest wears out faster too. Rust travels, pipes shift, sensors foul out. A lot of drivers wait until the noise gets unbearable or until fumes start creeping into the cabin. But by that point, you're past an easy fix. Welding or clamping a small leak early could cost you $50. Wait too long and you're replacing a catalytic converter or redoing half the system. Bottom line, don't treat exhaust noise like a harmless side effect. Treat it like a warning, because the moment your car is too loud, too leaky, or too smelly, that's definitely too late to pass inspection. If your car's been getting a little louder, a little rougher, or just a little more off lately, don't wait for inspection day to find out what's wrong. Most of the stuff that gets cars fail after 5 years is totally avoidable. You just have to know what to look for and stay on top of it before it snowballs. If this video helped you catch something early, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And let me know in the comments, what's one habit you're actually going to fix this week? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.